Excuse me, all the participants. Good morning, everyone. We are soon to begin and we'll take 2 minutes more. So I'll request you all to just settle down and then we'll begin with the session. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to be thankful to all of you on behalf of NCPEDP for taking time out on Monday. We are all here to celebrate the completion of 3 years of a pioneer program called NCPEDP-Javed Abidi Fellowship on Disability that was supported by Azim Premji Foundation. So we began this journey 3 years ago in the year 2021 when the entire world was grappled with pandemic. पहले तो मैं आप सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि सोमवार को आपने समय निकाला और आज हम यहाँ इसलिए उपस्थित हुए हैं कि हमने जो प्रोजेक्ट 3 साल पहले शुरू किया था वो आज यहाँ ख़त्म हम कर रहे हैं और आगे इसमें और बदलाव करके एक नई शुरुआत करेंगे। ये महत्वपूर्ण दिन है क्योंकि इसकी जब शुरुआत हुई थी 3 साल पहले तो उस दौर में हुई थी जब पूरा समाज हमारा और पूरा विश्व पैंडेमिक से जूझ रहा था, कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक से जूझ रहा था। एंड इट इज़ thus crucial that all of you who is present in this room, who have supported us directly or indirectly, has made this possible, that we took a project that was done for the first time in South Asia, where 25 youth with disabilities came along us. They started to collect evidence, bring out stories that were not in the mainstream, use those evidences to reach out to policymakers and then keep working further with them. So they still continue to do their work, but today is just a halt in that journey. इस पूरे 3 साल में हमारे साथ 25 विकलांग या दिव्यांग युवा हमारे साथ जुड़े। उन्होंने इस पूरे 3 साल के अंदर में परिस्थिति को जानने समझने की कोशिश की, उसके बारे में जो कहानियां हैं उसको सामने लाने की कोशिश की और उसके बाद आज वो जो नीतियां बना रहे हैं उन लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे हैं और आगे भी करते रहेंगे। ये दिन बस एक पड़ाव है उस पूरी यात्रा में। Now, before we begin this session, I would request all the fellows that on this day you must go back to all the memories that you have created in the last 3 years. Because in the 3 years, while working with us closely, while working with others closely, there might have been instances which felt good or bad, difficult or easy, and you could have measured them on various levels. तो आपसे मेरा अनुरोध रहेगा कि आप आज के दिन 3 साल पहले तक की घटनाओं को एक बार अपने मन में ज़रूर दोहराएं, इससे पहले कि हम सत्र की शुरुआत करें, क्योंकि उस दौर में आपके साथ कई ऐसी घटनाएं हुई जो शायद उस समय अच्छी बुरी लगती होंगी, कठिन लगती होंगी, आसान लगती होंगी और उनको आप अपने अलग अलग मापदंड से तौल पा रहे थे। But now when you would look into those memories, they won't feel good or bad, difficult or easy, or however you may have measured back then. They will all be just memories which will give you thrilling experience as and when you remember that. And it is important for all of us to just stay on that note. आज जब आप उन्हीं घटनाओं को दोहराएंगे तो आज वो ना तो आसान लगेंगी ना कठिन लगेंगी, बस यादें हैं जो आपको रोमांच ही देंगी और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप उस रोमांच पर बने रहें। Because as a nation we have always evolved on thrill, unlike Western philosophies which promote us to evolve on certain parameters and measurements. What I'm trying to say here कि अगर मापदंड से रोमांच की ओर जाना है तो ध्यान यही रखिए कि घर के बने हुए खाने में रोमांच होता है और बाहर के खाने में आप न्यूट्रिशनल वैल्यू के मेजरमेंट करके तय कर लेते हैं कि ये जंक है या नहीं। इसी तरह से आपकी ज़िंदगी भी आगे आने वाली है। एंड thus it is important that you evolve on your thrill instead of having parameters and measurements for yourself, running behind chairs, power, money and your wants more importantly. So stay on that note while we start the entire session, and always cherish those notes of thrill, because it is the thrill that will make us evolve, help us stay content with whatever we are doing and be wise to it. So thank you everyone again to be part of this entire journey. Thank you all the dignitaries who are here. And now I would like to request Mr. Arman Ali, who is the Executive Director of NCPEDP, to set the context of the entire session and initiate the discussion.
Thank you, Sumit. At outset, I would like to put on record my gratitude to Azim Premji Foundation, my colleagues at Azim Premji Foundation, and all my friends, my fellows, parents of fellows, other comrades of the sector. One that I never prepare for speeches unless, somebody has paid me to speak somewhere, and which never happens. So, me and many people with disability, young people with disability in India and globally, I think we learn from Javed Bhai. Whatever I know about disability today, whatever I am here today in the sector, I think I owe this to him. A little bit on the personal note, I knew Javed Bhai from the time I was 17 years old. I came to Delhi, I saw him in an event, and then always followed, always in awe of the man. And normally, I'm a very confident man, but while talking to him, I was to fumble. Javed Bhai to sir, and I was to say so many things. And then, each time you came to meet him in Delhi for some meeting, you went back with so much of knowledge, so much of deep understanding about disability, its identity and the challenges. And as destiny would have it, after his untimely demise, I took over his role, his huge responsibility as the Executive Director of NCPEDP. And there's so much of expectation from NCPEDP and also from me being the ED. And when I came from Guwahati to Delhi, one of the things that I got with me was my relationship with Azim Premji Foundation. My goodwill with Azim Premji Foundation, because I had worked with them already for 6 years. And then while settling in the first year or so, I started this discourse that we should start a fellowship for youth with disability. And NCPEDP always engages with youth with disability, and we used to do this convention, youth convention with disability for 3 days. I think we thought we should have a larger engagement. And then I reached out to my friends and colleagues at Azim Premji Foundation. I made multiple trips to Bangalore. Each time I was in Bangalore, I went to the office or met somebody or the other. And constantly I was told that, we don't do advocacy support, we don't do advocacy. Then this went on and on and on. It took me a year to convince our colleagues and friends at Azim Premji Foundation to come on board. And as Sumit mentioned, the first question, one of the questions which was very importantly asked to me, that how will you start this fellowship in middle of the pandemic? And I said, if not now, then when? If you don't bring out the narratives of people with disability in one of the worst situations in the world, if you don't know if they are able to access to health, to employment, to caregiver, if not now, then when? And I believe that people with disability are able to, young people with disability, youth are able to articulate their thoughts, they are able to express, and they needed a platform. And that's how we started this fellowship. And it so happened that we wanted to put it under the name of Javed Abidi. And very graciously, Azim Premji Foundation said, we are absolutely fine if you call this fellowship. Instead of, it's not called NCPEDP Azim Premji Foundation Fellowship, but they agreed to the idea of Javed Abidi Fellowship on Disability. So my deepest gratitude and thank you, for doing this for us. And one of its kind in the world, I would say, because India is unique. India is one of the most diverse country, the most populous country in the world. इतनी ज़्यादा issues हैं इंडिया में and समस्याएं हैं, तो and then you're trying to bring disability into the forefront. And I am extremely proud of each of the fellows, all of them who are present in this room and some of them who are not. You cannot ignore them. किसी को भी ऐसा नहीं है हमारे बीच में जो आप ignore. You can ignore NCPEDP, you can ignore Arman Ali, you can ignore Sumit, you can ignore all of us, but you cannot ignore our fellows. They're so dynamic and they're everywhere. You talk about Global Disability Summit, they spoke. You talk about expert on climate justice, they are there. You talk about working in the UN system, they are there. You talk about invisible disability, they are there. You talk about rural livelihood, they are there. I think the kind of knowledge they are bringing, मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूँगा, but each one of you, extremely proud. And मुझे मेरे ऑफिस में जोक था कि जब फेलोज से आप बात करते तो आप इतना गुस्सा क्यों हो जाते हैं? Why you get so angry on them? You get so heated argument as if you never get to do that with us. I said I have a lot of expectation from these on them. I'm very hard calls. On Zoom I'm asking, तुमको क्या लगता है कि मैं idiot हूँ? तुम लोग ऐसा करते हो? So hard calls I have made, and some of them have broken down on the call, video call पे ही. Then I have to calm them down, पानी पियो, फिर बात करो. I did not let them go. And then some of them, I also apologize for being like that. बहुत hard, very hard questioning. I said, disability cannot run on kindness. Disability cannot run on compassion only. सबको चाहिए kindness, सबको चाहिए compassion. But when it comes to disability, we must start the discourse with rights to be part of development discourse and not an afterthought. And for that, for us at NCPEDP and also Azim Premji Foundation, we wanted that each of the fellows came on with that approach towards disability. और एक चीज़ और बहुत मेरे टीम में और हम में बहुत साफ है कि हम नहीं चाहते कि आप लोग एक्टिविस्ट बन जाए. I don't expect you all to become an activist. You want to do active, but whatever you do, you set up a grocery shop या किसी जगह नौकरी करे या बिजनेस करे या कुछ भी करे, you know your right. You hold your space. You know what is need to be done. आप कभी भी आप बात करें तो you start from your identity, you start from your right, you start from your position, and you don't compromise on that. So from fellows to partners, I look up to all of them. Each time there is some issue, I talk to them. They're part of our meeting. So some of them have continue to work as partners. They will mentor the next cohort of fellows who come. And for me, I think it's a personal thing. I think I take a lot of pride in everything that I do at NCPEDP. I think I feel I am on a holiday. It's like I enjoy my work so much, and sometimes the first one in office and last one to leave office. And yet, because all of you, all of you in the room, and we have invited people who matter in the disability sector. It's none of you in the room, no one in the room with whom I have a formality to maintain, or I have to protocol to follow. And all of you who are in the room are a huge supporter of the disability rights movement in India, supporter of people with disability. And we thought it's an opportunity. I invited Deepa, I invited Mohan and Sunil, and of course Vasu, and so many of you, that I want you to also talk to the fellows, tell them about your experience, how to change the gear from fifth to sixth gear, and move forward and not look behind. And one of the first thing I said when we started the fellowship, I remember it was in Delhi, and all the fellows had come, that if you are looking for money, अगर पैसे के लिए fellowship कर रहे हैं, तो आप लोग चले जाइए इस रूम से, क्योंकि ये नौकरी नहीं है, एक fellowship है, fellowship पे stipend मिलता है, salary नहीं. So I think it was very clear in all the idea, a lot of discussions, a lot of issues back and forth, but I think we have done well. And without not taking much time, I would request Meenu to come and join me, and please do address us. And Meenu Bambani is, first I would like to say, is on the board of NCPEDP, is also my boss, and also leads the EI with State Street in Bangalore. Round of applause, please.
Thank you, Arman. Thank you, NCPDP. How many fellows have come today? 17. Okay. I went through the bio of each one of you. And total number of fellows are 25. I went through the bio and the work that you have done in the last 3 years of each one of you, yesterday and day before. And I could so relate to your stories. Your stories resonated with me because when I started, it was the same. How many of you are comfortable in English, or do you prefer that I speak in Hindi? Hindi? English is comfortable? Okay, I'll do a mix. And as Arman was sharing, I want to go back a little in history, because I think Javed is something who connected us. Arun knows very well. I was not a fellow, because उस time पे तो कोई fellowship नहीं थी. When I started my journey in the space of disability inclusion or disability advocacy, and I started more as an activist, I want to narrate that how my journey began in this space. It was 1996. 1995, the Disability Act was passed. A small news came in Indian Express, saying that, in which Mr. Abidi had written that thanks to Appan Menon, who was the NDTV news editor, he had highlighted that news that Disability Act had been passed. So he was paying his tribute to him. And I was under the impression that this act had not been passed. I was doing my PhD at that time from University of Rajasthan. I was a young student. And so I wrote to him. I said, sir, from your letter, I got to know that this act has been passed, and I would like to know more details about it. So he sent me a 1.5-page letter along with a copy of the Disability Act. And in that very first letter, he said, I'm here in Delhi. This is how the struggle to get the Disability Act passed happened. We had candlelight vigils, Parliament was suspended, it was adjourned, and so many issues were there, but our efforts eventually paid up. paid off, and it was a cross disability movement where it was not just me, but there were National Federation of the Blind and All India Confederation of the Blind and Deaf, and all disabilities came together, and that's how we got this. But the bigger struggle starts now towards its implementation, because policy बन जाती है, पर law बन जाता है, लेकिन उसका execution के लिए हमें बहुत बड़ी army चाहिए. And he said, I'm in Delhi, but I need many, many hands. I need many more young people with disabilities to come forward to take up this battle for justice, of disability justice in every city, in every district, in every panchayat, in every village. Because unless that happens, disability, I don't want disability to remain a Delhi-centric issue, कि वहाँ पे पॉलिसी लेवल पे बात होती है और बाकी देश में कुछ होता ही नहीं है. Of course, I read the letter, I was very happy, and then I moved on because I had to finish my studies, I had to focus on my career, because I thought that, I mean, this kind of letter is nice, but how does it help me in my career? As a young person, you only want that, how do I make money for myself and take care of myself as a person with disability? And 2 months later, I get an invitation to attend an international conference in Delhi, which was again a kind of convention. और वहाँ पहली बार मैंने अपनी लाइफ में बहुत सारे विकलांग लोगों को देखा. Throughout my education, in school, college, university, I was the only one with disability. And I didn't know about my rights. Asking for help seemed like I'm asking for a favor, but and there were comments by teachers, and I have read some of your experiences, what you had experienced when you asked for classroom to be shifted on the ground floor and what responses you were given. And I was also told that I'm taking advantage of my disability when I'm seeking exemption from assembly because I couldn't walk to the assembly. I couldn't carry my bag from the school bus to the classroom. But every time my parents were those advocates at that time. But you keep these memories somewhere hidden in your head because आपको आगे बढ़ना है. But disability आपको shape करती रहती है क्योंकि वो आपकी ज़िंदगी का इतना अहम हिस्सा है. It's such an important part of your life that every decision of your life revolves around that. Which side of the bed you sleep and how you take a shower and how you eat and which restaurant you go to. Everything is decided on the basis of disability, but you don't have that awareness in you. And because you are around people without disabilities all the time, you think that is the only norm. And that is how I need to be. मेरे को इनके जैसा बनना है. पर आपकी बॉडी, आपके सेंसेस आपके बस में नहीं है. आप उनके जैसे नहीं बन सकते. पर आप अपने आप में वो प्राइड नहीं लेते. There is no pride in your own disability, in your own individuality, which is shaped by disability. And only when you start taking pride that you start advocating for it. So for me, that journey happened when I went for that first conference in Delhi. And I met so many people with disabilities. Some of them are famous names like Shruti Mohapatra in Orissa to Jayashree Ravindran in Chennai. So those were the early days when I met all of them and I was like, oh wow, there are so many successful people with disabilities. And they are not shy about their disabilities. They are not shy. They are proud of their own disabilities. And because they are proud, that is why they are also representing and speaking about it. So I think that started giving me that sense of community and that identity. And I started seeing things from the rights-based lens. That, अरे ये तो मेरा हक है. एक accessible college मेरा हक है. पर मैंने कभी मांगा ही नहीं. मैं तो यही सोचती रही कि शायद कोई मेरे ऊपर दया कर देगा और मेरे को दे देगा, पर दया से मिलता नहीं है, आपको वो लड़ाइयाँ लड़नी पड़ती हैं. So when Mr. Abidi then gave me a lot of opportunities to start, so I started volunteering with NCPEDP. So my journey, मैंने अपना करियर बनाया एकेडेमिया में. मिस्टर आबिदी ने मेरे को बोला कि आप ये स्कॉलरशिप स्कीम है, NCPEDP एक स्कॉलरशिप स्कीम चलाता था उन दिनों में. We need more people to apply for it. So why don't you help us? I said, I can help only when I am settled in my life. I cannot help otherwise. So for me, that became my mission, that I have to complete my PhD. I have to be on my feet. I need to start earning so that I can start contributing. And when that happened, then I was like, okay. I used to spend my personal money to do press releases, send faxes to media offices, to write letters. पोस्ट ऑफिस में जाके बैठी रहती थी. 98 में पहली बार कंप्यूटर आया एंड ईमेल आया. साइबर कैफ़े में जाके एक छोटे से, इट वाज नॉट इवन अ टाउन, इट्स कॉल्ड किशनगढ़, वेयर आई वाज पोस्टेड एज अ लेक्चरर. And I used to sit in cyber cafe till 9, 10 in the night, writing letters to various government officials, organize several workshops, seminars, conferences. So I was a foot soldier for NCPEDP. And आपके पास stipend है, मेरे पास stipend भी नहीं था advocacy करने के लिए. What happened? What was the result of all of that? Those 3 years from 1996 to, actually 5 years, 1996 to 2001. All this paved way for me being invited by the government of Rajasthan to join as Assistant Commissioner Disabilities. So it was advocacy that helped me get there. And once I became the Assistant Commissioner for Disabilities to implement the Disability Act, I started seeing so many gaps. I started meeting so many people with disabilities, and how the systems and policies kept people out. I still distinctly remember one of my biggest fight in that 1.5 years that I was there was a delegation of a lot of blinds, young blind people had come. And they had said that government has identified only the post of music teacher for us. Now there are so many vacancies of history teacher, professor of economics, Hindi, history, literature. And we have done our MA, MPhil, we have qualified the lectureship exams. But because they have reserved only the post of music teacher, we can't apply anywhere. Now imagine how the stereotype continued that blind people are good musicians, and that is why only the post of music teacher was reserved for them. And so that was my biggest struggle, that 1.5 year going through the bureaucracy. And after 1.5 years, the government amended the list and opened it and made it, government of Rajasthan made it on par with the central government, which had identified many, many more. But while in that 1.5 year that I was there in the government office, I realized कि खाली अपनी disability or lived experience is not enough. If you want to truly be an advocate, you need to know about more disabilities. And how do you bring about change? And I realized that it's a systems, and unless you do systems change and you institutionalize that systems change, your advocacy is futile. It really doesn't lead to anything. It leaves you at the mercy of people. It disempowers you. It doesn't empower you. Because that gives you a tool to contest. It gives you a tool in your hand where you can take the authorities to the court that this is my right. But if it is not written, if there is no policy, who do you even appeal to? So I think that is what shaped my thinking at that time. And I said, I need to know more about disability, and I need to understand how do I how do I create that systems change? How do I change those policies? and I was fortunate enough to get Ford Foundation Fellowship to do my Masters in Disability Studies. So PhD करने के बाद मैं 2 साल US में गई और मैंने मिस्टर आबिदी को बोला मेरे को एक recommendation चाहिए अप्लाई करने के लिए. And he was very unhappy because he thought that he is losing a foot soldier in the state of Rajasthan. But I said, I have dreams and I want to play a bigger role in this space. And that is why I need to invest in my learning. And I have to go. So he gave me an excellent recommendation, of course. And I got the fellowship. I came back and I joined NCPEDP for 2 years. I worked there. And it was a great learning experience to work with Mr. Abidi. He was a very hard taskmaster. वो गुस्सा बहुत करते थे. अरमान को याद है जैसे ये बोल रहे हैं कि वो हम फंबल करते थे उनके आगे, तो हम बहुत घबराते थे उनसे. मामूली गलती पे वो चीख पड़ते थे. पर जो हमको लर्निंग उस टाइम पे मिला वो ही हमारा फाउंडेशन था, वो ही हमारा बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स था. 2 साल NCPEDP काम करने के बाद मैंने एम्फोसिस ज्वाइन किया. And again he was very unhappy. He was unhappy when I left Rajasthan and went abroad because I still have that email where he said, "You have failed me." And I said, I will prove it to you that I have not failed you. You will be proud of me. And I said, once an advocate, always an advocate. It doesn't matter where you are. I may not be on the streets with you, but I will be working on disability irrespective wherever I am. An emphasis happened, and emphasis and NCPEDP relationship started in 2008 with World Disability Day, NCPEDP Emphasis Universal Design Awards, and the number of things that I was able to catalyze thanks to Emphasis leadership at that time, and Emphasis continues to go with that legacy of supporting disability. So you need many more organizations like Emphasis and the leadership like that in the sector, which I still feel doesn't exist. Whether it was starting an Office of Disability Services at IIM Bangalore, to starting Uber, to NCPEDP Emphasis Universal Design Awards, which led to Accessible India campaign, to the passage of 2016 RPWD Act, all these things. I mean, Nanagu Shale, which is inclusion of people with disabilities in the mainstream education. And I remember before his passing, a year before, he had told me, we need many more Minus in many corporates. So I think that was the endorsement. So I think I'll just like to end by saying, अपना करियर बनाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, अपने पैरों पे खड़ा आना बहुत ज़रूरी है. आप लोग बहुत यंग हैं, प्रैक्टिकल होना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि खाली एडवोकेसी में पैसा नहीं है, लाइवलीहुड नहीं है. पर आपके पास ये जो नॉलेज है, ये आपको एक एक्सपर्ट बनाता है इस फील्ड में. It makes you an expert because you have the lived experience. Nobody can take that away from you. The richness that you can add to anything cannot happen unless you have that lived experience. More importantly, disability is not an issue that needs to be seen in isolation. क्योंकि हमें disability inclusion हर चीज़ में चाहिए, खाली एजुकेशन और एम्प्लॉयमेंट में नहीं चाहिए, खाली रेलवे स्टेशंस और बस स्टॉप्स पे नहीं चाहिए. आज लाइवलीहुड्स के इतने प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, कहाँ हैं उसमें people with disabilities? Where are they? Accelerator होता है, incubation होता है, exclusive होता है. Where is disability included in everything? We talk of education. Again, it is relegated to special schools. Where is inclusion in the mainstream? It isn't there. So we need to continue to be that champion in those spaces. We need to populate those mainstream spaces and be visible there, where we can include disability, because disability is on nobody's agenda. And unless you have leadership at the top, it just doesn't flow. Today, I mean, there are so many leaders in the social sector space. Whenever I get a proposal on disability, it's always from a disability organization. I had CSR for State Street, so I see the proposals on livelihoods that come, on skilling that come, on gender that come. Gender, but no disability. Are there no women with disabilities? There are. Livelihood, we are going to skill so many youth. Where are youth with disabilities in them? They are nowhere. You have programs around higher education, STEM for young people, STEM. People with disabilities are missing everywhere. So I think that's the message I want to leave you with, कि अपना career बनाइए, उसमें पीछे मत रहिएगा. Disability inclusion की journey जो है आपकी स्वयं की भी है, और आपके पास इस fellowship के बाद इतना knowledge है, तो उस knowledge को आगे बढ़ाते रहिए, और जिस भी space में आप घुसें वो आपके साथ रहेगी. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meenu. I think that was super. May I now invite Elena to come and please, yes, yeah, please.
Hello. I have a loud voice. Is it okay if I speak without the mic? I think it'll be better. Okay, great. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And to all the fellows over here, a very, very hearty congratulations. You all have successfully completed the fellowship. And like Arman was saying, I'm sure while it was interesting, it was also very challenging. You all had a lot of challenging conversations. But at the same time, it must have been transformational. And I'm sure each and every one of you will be finishing the fellowship with some change in your life, and it will shape the way you think about what next. And we heard from Meenu ma'am right now how an exposure like this can really shape the way your life's trajectory. This moment in time reminds me of when I had finished my graduation and I was confused what next to do. And I had the opportunity of doing a fellowship. And similarly to your experience, it was challenging, interesting, but it also helped me take a lot of important decisions, which I'm still glad that I took, and it would not have been possible without that fellowship. And I'm sure each of you at this moment will also look back at your experiences and how they will impact the decisions that you are going to take in your life. In the start of the year, I think it was end of Jan or Feb, I had the opportunity to meet some of the fellows. I think in the Delhi office, met about 6 or 7 fellows. And it was a really nice experience for me to meet them, to hear the stories, what motivated them to join the fellowship. And also the passion with which they spoke about the issues that they took up. So some of them were working on inclusion in education, to digital resources, to tourism, healthcare, access to government schemes. And they shared their journey, how they went about first not knowing anything about the issue, but they had some experience of where it impacted them, to actually studying about it in more detail, the underlying causes, speaking to the larger community, and then working on recommendations. But a couple of key things that struck me came up from the conversations, which they shared, which one was the change that they had in the mindset from being an activist to an advocate, right? The second is finding and identifying the right stakeholders and going and building those relationships with them and forming networks and not going at it alone. These were some of the points that they kept reinforcing, which were key learnings that went beyond what they took away from the workshops, but actually came up from the work that they were doing. Another interesting point was the cross-learnings that came up when they interacted with each other. So many of them said that earlier they had their lived experiences, but because of the fellowship and because it was across this disability, they were now interacting very closely with people with other disabilities and were learning to understand what were their experiences and factor that into their work as well. And similarly, there were some fellows from the urban areas who were now interacting with fellows who had grown up in a rural area and vice versa. And they were now hearing from each other the challenges that you would face or what are the environment that you're working in. And that was something that a kind of cohort like this gives people the opportunity to do. I am sure when you speak to the fellows and we read more about their reports, many more such points would come up. And I have read some of the reports and I look forward to reading the rest and also interacting with each of you after this session. Additionally, you all may be aware, but additionally, many of the fellows have also spoken at a number of platforms, have published articles, and 8 fellows have started their own organizations to take forward their work. So I really applaud all of them. Yeah. We at the foundation, Azim Premji Foundation, we wish all the fellows all the very best for their journey. This is just the start of the journey ahead for you all. I would also like to take a moment to congratulate the NCPEDP team, Sumit, Ujwal, and Arman. This was, like you all have heard before, this is the first such fellowship for persons with disabilities. So this is a new thing that they were also undertaking, and they were very closely involved from the designing, the execution, working in a changing environment like the pandemic, but yet they were there for the fellows, providing the support that they needed. So congratulations to all of you all and a big thank you from the foundation. It wasn't easy and you all have done a good job. So at the foundation, disability has been one of the oldest focus areas. We have been supporting organizations through grant making, which mainly focus on service delivery, and rights and advocacy is a nascent area for us. And this fellowship has given us an opportunity to also engage with this in a small way. And we have been happy to be associated with this fellowship. I would also like to take the moment to thank all the family members of all the fellows and all those who have, and the mentors and other people who have been on this journey with you all. Without their support, I'm sure it would have been more difficult. So I also want to take this time to thank them and congratulate all the family members and supporters of the fellows present over here. And to the fellows, congratulations once again and all the very best.
Thank you so much, Elena. Just wanted to add one more information about the fellows, that what Elena mentioned, that 8 of them have started with their own organization. 5 of them went to the US in an exchange program during their fellowship, and I think that was quite an achievement. So you can clap for yourself. Yes. I think Chaitanya, Anjali, and yeah, Alice and a few of other people. I think super. Now, may I also acknowledge, and for the everybody, all the fellows here, we have galaxy of people in this room, and I want you, all of you, to meet them. We have Siddharth, we have Deepthi, we have Mr. Gopinath, Ms. Datta. I mean, from United Ways, from ANZ, you should meet all of them. They're all supporters of disability, and also next, I would like to now invite Deepa Nagaraj from Emphasis. She's one of the huge supporters that you would find for disability in India and globally. Deepa, may I request you to please join me and share your thoughts.
I wasn't prepared for this. So this is Arman doing his Arman thing. And after Arman and Meenu have spoken, right, anything anybody else says is going to be extremely lipid and tippid. So there's no point. But all I'd like to say is congratulations to all of you. I'm sure it wasn't an easy journey. You're learning, unlearning and relearning is always extremely difficult, but all of you have crossed that bridge. Hopefully from now on, it would be much better. You'd be able to implement all the learnings that you've had so far. And like Meenu said, you're probably going to be advocates, or you're going to be applying some of these policies, whatever it is, the very best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Siddharth? You want the mic? Yeah. You come prepared, huh?
No, so I agree. Even I was not prepared, but I just quickly jot down some points while everybody was speaking. First of all, yes, thank you, Arman. Thank you for thinking that I would add value to this platform. My name is Siddharth. For all of you who have not met me, my name is Siddharth. I'm a co-founder at NeoMotion. We make mobility products. We make wheelchairs, customized wheelchairs and outdoor mobility devices at the end, so that people live life independently, right? Yes, I did not. You can say, yeah, I'm also having a career in disability right now. Yes, I did my mechanical engineering from IIT Madras. Maybe in my second year, third year, I did not know that I would make a wheelchair for persons with disabilities. I thought fifth year में project complete करना है, job लेना है और जाना है, शादी करनी है, all of that. By the way, I got engaged last week, so I am following the dream, I would say. But yeah, our journey for all of you started by making a swimming pool hoist so that any wheelchair user can get into a swimming pool. It came to us as a very surprising problem statement from our professor. You know, swimming is a good form of exercise. Wheelchair users are not able to go into the pool independently, so can we make something? And you're like, what? We didn't even realize that, you know, because you don't see it around you. Like while I was learning how to swim, I did not see any persons with disabilities there, so I did not think of this at all. And when we did that, we understood what all challenges come, and when we met a lot of our users who would come to do trials, we understood what all challenges they face. And that's how our journey started. I think one point that you were talking about careers, absolutely. See, today when you look at me from the point of view of an entrepreneur, of a banya trying to do dhanda in the field of disability, there has to be a market, there has to be revenue, there has to be profit. Otherwise, how will we sustain, right? So there is opportunity here. There is a population. There is a problem. There can be solutions for that problem, and if you're able to make a good solution, then people are going to use your product or people are going to use your service. So absolutely, there's a career for us, and then absolutely because of that, there are a lot of other allied opportunities that will come out of it, right? I spoke to Deepak. I forgot his full name. Deepak Mishra. Yes, and I read that he had done research on. Yeah, I see. At the end of the day, it has to come down with identifying the demand, right? What is the demand? Number one, yes. How many people are there with disabilities? How many people are there with locomotor disabilities, with hearing impairment, speech impairment? And yes, while the census and all is there, that data is there. But yes, data, baseline, all of that demand, that itself is a very strong starting point. So there itself, when Deepak said that, I did research and I spoke to so many people with transgenders with disabilities, I'm like, whoa, that is so deep and so specific. And if you have that data is gold mine for us, So all that also adds that, yes, there is a lot of opportunity to just start something here itself. In fact, I also did a fellowship. I did the SBI Youth for India Fellowship in 2016-17. I don't know if it's probably in its 11th year now. I was in the 4th batch of that, and I in fact proposed to SBI Youth for India in the last 2 alumni meets that so how they do it is they have 7-8 NGOs with whom they partner with, and then as a fellow I would go there and work for the NGO for a year, and then yes, you find a problem there and you try to solve it. That's what you do. So I was like, yes, why can't you include an NGO with who works in the field of disability? So you add another element, and then yes, maybe few years down the line, or even as soon as possible, have persons with disabilities as your fellows itself. And I can actually give them the example of this, right? Like there is already a fellowship where there are fellows with disabilities who are doing that. So it should definitely be something that SBI can take up. Very important thing that I've learned in the last 6-7 years in this industry, it's a very chicken and egg problem. Today, unless you don't go out to a theater to watch a movie and see that, oh, there is no ramp now. And then, yes, I think one more thing somebody said, that activists say advocacy. So yes, there you can first start maybe by activism that, hey, I came to watch a movie and there's no ramp here. I can't watch this movie now. Yes, you can start by that. But then, yes, then it has to slowly move into advocacy. So yes, one thing happened in Hyderabad, which I just want to highlight here. So our users, our NeoMotion users, we have these city groups, state groups. And what we basically do there is, somebody will ask, I'm planning to go to Shirdi. So does anybody know any accessible hotels there? I'm planning to go to Tirupati. Do you know what is the process so that I can get darshan done? If I'm traveling, and will second AC be okay or will third AC be okay? Very practical questions like this are discussed in that group, right? And then in Hyderabad, there's, and then to and we also need to instigate that. So we also keep poking people that, hey, why don't you go meet people and have chai with them? Why don't you go to Masap Tank in Hyderabad and meet people? We need to first also poke them because they've not been doing this for a while now. So it so happened we started this campaign across all cities. Sorry, how much time do I have?
It's over.
It's over. Okay. I'll just finish this. So what happened? Hyderabad mein, they all started going to metro stations. So NeoMotion wheelchairs are allowed into metro trains. So, but we need to tell people this, right? That, hey, you can take this in the metro train, if people did not know about this already. So then all our users started going, and then they actually, in a month's time, they came up with a list of stations which they could not enter. I tried this Prakash Nagar metro station, I could not enter. I tried this station, we could not enter. So that way we were able to pinpoint which were the metro stations which we could not enter. And then they, as an association, went to Hyderabad, Greater Hyderabad Metro, and then L&T was involved and they got it. So it's a chicken and egg problem. Unless we don't go out, unless we don't point it out, it will not, things might not happen. So, but yeah, if we do go out and highlight it, I think slowly and steadily things will change. So there is a lot of scope, there's a lot of things that can be done. I think that's...
Thank you, Siddharth. I think... Siddharth, I know from the time NeoMotion was a prototype, and it's been a while. So, for everyone, this is something very informal gathering. I wanted everyone to know everybody, and if we can keep our inputs to the point and congratulate and then meet the fellows again separately. And I think Siddharth is a great guy, and his idea of NeoMotion, he's got about 1 lakh user now. 6,000. Okay. Okay, 6,000. Yes, that's the vision. Yes, 6,000 users. I think it's huge. I think great. So all of us learn from him. May I request Mohan to share his thoughts? Mohan is the CEO of RT Lab and is a great friend. Keep it short, Mohan, please. Yeah. Siddharth has eaten up the time.
I'll hold it. I have 4 points and will be points and very short. Okay. The first thing that anybody needs, any person with disability needs, is a role model. And I think all the fellows have immense capability and potential to be role models. And that is something that you must strive to be so that others can follow you and know that they can do something. That's the first. The second is in terms of attitude. I know that Meenu said that we have rights and we should ask for our rights. I'll actually go beyond. Rights is something you think somebody else should give you. But I think you should know that you're equal within you, and that is important. You're not asking somebody for a right because you're unequal. You're asking for a right because you're equal. And that must be part of your mindset. Otherwise, you will never consider yourself on par with somebody else, and that will stop you from performing on par. You can never use disability as an excuse. In spite of disability, you should perform on par with others, and that is the mark that you must make. The third is, for the disability sector, if you see the way it has progressed, most of the thinking has been done by people who are not disabled. Till the disabled think for themselves and think for themselves as a the sector will not grow. So the first thing I will say is, don't wait for somebody else to give you a solution. Think of what problems the sector faces and come up with solutions yourself. Don't wait for somebody else. Till you start helping yourself, others will not help you. Right? So that's the third point that I wanted to make. And the fourth is that whichever sphere of influence that you carry in corporates or any other place, I think it is your beholden duty to make sure that there is inclusion that happens all over the place, and keep bringing it up and pestering people to make sure that make note of it and change. Change will only happen by repeated knocks, like what Arman said. It took him 1 year and multiple visits to get somebody to see that this should be done. Similarly, in every other place, you will have to keep knocking consistently to make change, and do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohan. Rohit, very quick.
Yeah. Hi. So congratulations to NCPEDP and all the fellows. See, I have a different experience basically. Means when this journey of fellowship was started, I was on the other side. I was heading one organization in Gurgaon. So one of the fellow, Aarti, she was placed with us, and my responsibility was to mentor her. So from the very limited, I still remember the kind of initial conversation that we had, explaining her about the health, accessibility and all. And from the very limited knowledge on the issue, and now they have become a knowledge bank. So this is a transformation I have seen in some of the fellows, and that's very amazing and that's very interesting. So my only message to the fellows is, now you have capacitated, you have excellent capacity. Now you are practicing, exercising your rights, and as well as I ask you to help others also to exercise their rights. So congratulations once again. Yeah.
Thank you, Rohit. Aarti now works with the UN India, so we can all go to her for some help there. Deepti Pupaya, Executive Director, Go Sports.
Thank you so much. I think all of you have covered all the important elements and points, but at Go Sports Foundation, we are really trying to create role models from Indian sport. And from the start, 16 years ago, we've been working with athletes with disabilities and with able-bodied athletes. So it was never a thought process from the start about should we work with people with disabilities. My big learning for today is really what Meenu said about programs. You don't need separate programs. You know, we do have our programs, and we have a specific program for, called Para Champions program, and Arman very recently was also on our selection panel. But I think that's one big change I'm going to take away, that all our programs going forward will definitely have both able-bodied and athletes with disabilities to our corporates who support us. We don't need to create a specific individual program. That's one takeaway. Secondly, each one of you, congratulations. It's such an important step in your life that you'll have taken. And you're going to do many, many, many big great things. But I feel, as somebody who's had the opportunity through Ghost Sports to interact with people with disabilities, we don't share enough. So, because I had the good fortune of having a job that allowed me to work with people with disabilities, I got to know so much and made the best of friends. But I would request each one of you to consciously make new friends and networks beyond people with disabilities, because sometimes it's just that we don't know. We would love to, interact. We would love to know your concerns. And, he's making some great wheelchairs. Some of our athletes are using it as well. But if we don't know, we cannot act. So it's just a request and an urge in your positions of power as role models. Take that first step. And I'm sure many, many more of us would be gladly willing to learn and work with you along that journey. So thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Deepthi. Now may I request Subhashri Datta from Nudge Foundation. Yes.
At the Nudge, we run an incubator and an accelerator for non-profits. This year we have 2 of our 4 organizations, Soul's Arc and IDEA, that are working with persons with disabilities. IDEA is led by Mallikarjunita, who is a person with disability himself. And we also had iSTEM, where visually impaired founders are working on how to give more accessible careers to blind people. It is a learning journey. We have made our mistakes. I think we are trying hard to be allies and what it takes for that. But, we are trying our best to push the conversations and learn from the organizations that we are supporting on how we can really move forward the agenda to make this an inclusive India. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhashri. Mr. Gopinath from Dhwani Foundation.
So first of all, congratulations to all the fellows. Thanks, Ujjwal. She organized a small conversation with one fellow with me, Priya. I hope she is here. It was interesting for me to listen to her, what she has done. So she told me she sits in Lucknow and trying to look at the carers issues. So that was actually very interesting. I asked her, what's your dream? She said, what I want to see is how the state government is going to make policies for carers and their safety and their future. And that was very interesting, right? I think this is very nice. A person with disability is actually looking at the issues of carers and see they are also important in the ecosystem. And that's very beautiful dream, right? So congratulations for that. And that's a beautiful thing what she has taken, right? Secondly, NCPEDP. I remember Javed Abidi came in 2003 to the organization where I used to work, called Association of People with Disability, where Mohan is very well associated with it. So I proudly said, look at my organization and we have 40% workforce who are people with disabilities. He said, what is preventing you to make it 100%? Right? So that's what Javed. Right? So it shook us. Then in 2 years, because he said this one sentence, so we went up to 65%. And I don't think he was happy. So that is how NCPEDP I look at. It's an inspiration. So good to see now other people take on over of NCPEDP. So I'm sure you will lead this, right? So we need more leaders. Leaders should come from the sector itself, right? So I did 25 years, I worked under the leadership of people with disabilities, and that actually turned my life, right? I think that's the beauty, actually. How can you convert so-called non-disabled people like me to look at this more meaningfully? So I'm an example, 25 years, where I worked with people with disabilities, or they were my guide, and they were my bosses, and that helped. So what I look forward is to see more leadership. Maybe that's something I think we are actually not doing much now, building more leaders from the sector. I see over the last decade maybe dipped a little bit. So how can we bring it back? If we can do more of that, I think that's the best thing what we could actually contribute. Lastly, thank to Azim Premji Foundation for looking this type of causes and supporting this type of causes. We need more and more foundations like that, so NCPEDP can do more and more leadership building for the country. Thank you. Congratulations to all.
Thank you so much. Alok? Yeah. Alok is the co-founder for Vidi Karnataka.
Thank you so much, Arman, firstly for inviting me to this event. I think it's a fantastic initiative that the NCPEDP has created this fellowship, this Javed Abidi Fellowship, to identify, and as a lot of other people have already said, to identify the next generation of people to take this work forward. I actually believe that advocacy is something which persons with disability do every way. And in some sense, what is happening in small, somewhat distinct and very far off efforts need to come together. And I hope that the 25 fellows, if I'm not mistaken, it will be 25 more in the coming years, but this should prompt not just individual efforts at local level, which is very important, but also the kind of large-scale legal changes, large-scale societal changes that should tomorrow ensure that an effort like this is almost not needed because government itself, society itself, stops seeing the distinction, ensures everything by definition is inclusive, everything by definition is accessible, and everything by definition caters to the needs of every last person in this country. So with those few words, I'd like to congratulate NCPEDP for this fantastic initiative, and thank you to Azim Premji Foundation for having funded this. And I will only congratulate the fellows on having completed 3 years. I will say, and having spoken to Nikhileshwar over the weekend, I think your work is just beginning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sriram? Sriram is with United Ways. Huh?
Thank you, Arman. This is my first association with NCPEDP, but very inspiring. Thank you for having me here. Meenu, fantastic. It was very inspiring as always. Whenever I meet Meenu, it's always a lot of motivation for us as well. I mean, I agree with a lot of things. Like we work with Neo Motion, with Siddharth as well. As an organization, we're always on the lookout for new ideas and new things that we can actually, kind of put forth to our partners and reach as many people as possible. So I'm sure all these fellows over here, each one of you will have different ideas of what needs to be done as a solution. I'm very excited to hear each one of you come out with the solutions. And we as an organization, we're very open, and we would like to create a platform where you come forward with the solutions, come forward with the projects, and we'll put it across to all our corporate partners. I think that's the only way to scale up and reach and create a more impact. While listening to Arman and others, I think very soon I would create a platform within United Way where all of us can come together and discuss and brainstorm about what can be done on the ground. And with our vast experience of working with corporates, we'll put forth to all the corporates and see how much we can do. Very soon we'll reach out, and I'm sure Arman will also help us in creating that platform. Congratulations to all the fellows, and I had the opportunity to discuss with Balram. Fantastic work, very inspiring. So I look forward to hear all the other great work that the other fellows have done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sriram. Now may I request Sunil to please share your thoughts. Sunil is the founder of Indian Wheelchair Tennis Tour, or as yes. It's a journey. It's a journey, yes.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Arman, for having me here. I mean, there is not much to be spoken, right? I mean, what I'm present is authenticity of the conversations, and that's so important. I'm a chartered accountant. Just to share a little bit of context of what had me start this work. I'm passionate in legal advocacy. Like, I'm a legal brain, right? I do a lot of tax consultancy and tax advocacy work. And my passion and dream was to appear in various courts. I had also planned to do LLB. But in my first year of practice as a chartered accountant, when I had to go to the tribunal in FKCCI building, the courtroom is in the second floor, right? So yeah, I somehow managed to be on somebody's back and got there, appeared for 2 cases, won the cases, all that is fine. But what had me thinking was, do I do it this for myself or for others also? That's the choice I had to make. So I chose that. I think there are many people who have a lot of passion in their life, which people may not even think about. It's all like stereotype, no? अगर आर्ट्स, अगर बच्चा देख नहीं पाएगा तो उसको आर्ट्स में डालो, बच्चा अगर नहीं चल पाएगा उसको कंप्यूटर पे लगा दो अभी. So there is a framework within which you and I exist. And as Minu was saying, right, create your career. Mohan sir was saying we are equal. Let us consider we are not equal, we are not different. We are all unique. Each one of us, each fellows, each one of us sitting here are very unique. And how do I express that uniqueness is only when we keep breaking the barriers, which are physical and mental barriers. And that's a lot of little research I did in 2011. I found sports is the one thing that makes people playing. You connect through sports, you disconnect through sports. So that's the work we are doing to create spaces for accessing physical activity and then move on to sports. Sports is another spectrum, side of the spectrum. It starts with a physical activity, right? So with that, all the fellows, congratulations. You may be in different spaces working. How you can activate people's movement, whether it is a paper moving from one bureaucrat to other bureaucrat or a child moving in a house, right? That's what is important. So each one of you have a great job on your hand, and you cannot make career unless otherwise you're valuable, really valuable. No right, no conversation will help you to build a career unless you bring something of value to the table, right? So you're not asking anything, you're gonna ask yourself, what is the consistent value that I can bring on table? What happened yesterday happened, that's consumed. What new can I bring? That's the thought process we need always. I think that is a beautiful engagement in life. Thank you so much. Congratulations once more and all the best.
Thank you so much, Sunil. I think that kind of brings us to the end of the introduction round. I wanted all of you, the fellows especially, to know the kind of powerful people sitting in this room who can change the country in terms of inclusion of disabled people, whether it is United Way, the Nudge Foundation, Vidhi, Emphasis, Street Smart, Go Sports, Azim Premji Foundation, Start Street. Yes, Street Smart makes more sense. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. State Street. Yes, okay. I'm still learning. You know, I have a story also for, you know, मैंने बहुत बार ट्राई किया है कि मुझे भी कोई फेलोशिप मिल जाए, तो कभी शॉर्टलिस्ट नहीं होता है. मतलब एक दो बार they ask me political question and I say political answers, so it gets cancelled. Once I got shortlisted for a very prestigious fellowship, global fellowship, and as usual I'm always happy and busy. On the interview went okay, but I addressed the fellowship with some other name, some other fellowship. And they got so upset that he's not interested. Like, you know, he's not serious about the fellowship because he's appeared for an ex-fellowship thing, but he's talking about why. So I said, I'm looking forward to join why and all that. So that kind of cancelled it. So all of you are lucky. Anyway, so that kind of brings me over to you, Sumit, to take it forward.
Thank you. Without wasting further time, we would start with the distribution of certificates of completion. And I would request all the fellows to be attentive as we call their names so that we do not spend any time on navigating through things. So let's not waste time. Time is important for all of us here. So please be attentive on the names. So we will begin with Meenu ma'am. We would request you to come forward and then we will gradually start with the distribution process. We will begin with Abhishek, who is located in Ranchi, has been working on impact of climate change on persons with disabilities. आ गया ये थोड़ा. Next is Thaneshwar Nishad. Thaneshwar was working in Thakurain village of Chhattisgarh. He mapped job roles that could be well suited for persons with disabilities and ensured their inclusion in Manrega scheme. Thank you, ma'am. You may get back to your seat. We will begin with Arman sir. You will be distributing, no, you will be distributing the next round of certificates. Javed Khan, who was working in Jalon, a backward region in Uttar Pradesh. And for the first time there, he tried to ensure that persons with disabilities are made part of the livelihood schemes in running in that particular region and ensured that they were trained in agri-skilling business for the first time. Next we have Ferdinand, who was located in Shillong, Meghalaya, was working on making transportation accessible in northeast part of the country. And because of his efforts, we now have a committee established by the state to look after the entire design of the project specifically. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ferdinand. The next round of certificates will be distributed by Elena. I would like you to be. The next certificate goes to Krishna Yadav, was located in Janjgir Champa of Chhattisgarh. It is because of her efforts that we now are looking at building accessible toilets for girls with disabilities in the schools in that particular region. Next we have Mahavir. Mahavir was working in 3 different villages of Sonari Thari block of Deoghar, Jharkhand. Started his work by looking at the access to UDID cards and gradually shifted to ensuring that he develops entrepreneurship skills and is now creating entrepreneurs working on agri products. Mm. Thank you, Mahavir. Thank you, Alina. Now we would request Deepa ma'am to join us for the distribution of the certificates. Kavya Purnima was located in Vishakhapatnam. It is because of her efforts that we now have MOU between Council of Architecture and Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities to ensure that universal design is a core subject in all the architecture colleges, and she changed the entire design of how Blue Flag Beaches certification happens. Next, we have Aati Batra, was focused on looking at access of health infrastructures in slums of Gurgaon, went above and beyond to train all the ASHA and Anganwadi members on how to identify children with disability and take care of their needs. Deepa ma'am, we would request you to distribute one more certificate because Anjali Vyas was working on making DEI space more inclusive with corporates, and while working in the same realm, she was able to ensure that regional accommodation makes part and parcel of PM Daksh portal as well. Now I would request Mohan sir. Saurabh Prasad was working on ensuring that STEM as education is provided to students with visual impairment. It is because of his efforts that we now have a earmarked budget of scholarship that supports students who are interested to pursue the stream of STEM. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Saurabh. We would now request Subhashri ma'am to join us for the distribution of certificates. Chaitanya Mukund was working on a very unrealized topic that requires importance to look at the missing data point with the entire FIR performa where the disability is not recorded as part of the process, because of which we are not able to have data on the crimes or abuse against persons with disabilities. Has been actively working on the same and looks forward to ensure that the entire performa of FIR is changed. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Chaitanya. Now, I may request Gopinath sir to come forward for the distribution of certificates. Priya Srivastav was located in Lucknow and was looking at the cause of understanding how the entire scope of caregiving in India can be looked at, developing evidence on not only the need of caregiving but also the kind of mental health needs that come into foray when we talk about caregivers. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Priya. I would request Sriram sir to come forward for the distribution of the certificates. Balram Ghoshal was working on ensuring that the social security measures reach persons affected by leprosy in leprosy colonies of Mathura and Vrindavan. May I call Siddharth sir to join us for the distribution. Deepak Mishra was located in New Delhi visiting the slums to understand the status of economic inclusion of persons with disabilities who identify themselves in the entire spectrum of LGBTIQ community. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Deepak. Now I would request Deepti ma'am to join us for the distribution. Sakshi Chauhan, she is a national basketball player and was ensuring that Rishikesh and its ghats become accessible for persons with disabilities. Next, I would request Sunil sir to come forth for the distribution. Manish Kumar was based in Delhi but was able to identify the large variation in the building bylaws that exist in various municipalities of Delhi NCR region as a whole, which is in itself creating difficulties in creating accessible spaces. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Manish. Alok, sir, may I request you to join us for this distribution of certificates? Nikhileshwar Gugunani was located in Betul, did a survey of 100% of the higher educational institutions present in the district to identify the status of equal opportunity cells in those colleges, and is now working ahead to look at implementation of Lingdo committee report. I would again like to thank all the dignitaries for helping us distribute the certificates and being here to motivate all our fellows.